getting ready to head to federal court today in Minneapolis or St. Paul?
It's a Minneapolis hearing in front of Judge Tunheim, Senior District Court Judge.
And the one on Tuesday
that was over in St. Paul.
Was in St. Paul.
Same issues.
Same
different
issues.
Courthouses.
Yeah.
And for people who don't know, just to make it, Minneapolis and St. Paul, you know, it depends where the judges are benched, and then it becomes kind of random. So I know sometimes we get asked out on the street, like, why is there could be even a crime related to like a Minneapolis gang, but it's being heard in St. Paul. But
it depends on the judge it's assigned to on the court calendar, and so then it goes to that. So, but the same issues here, even though a different judge, and this is with the U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, Daniel Rosen, being, you know, basically summoned in front of the judge to answer for why some court orders have not been followed here by the U.S. Attorney. So what's happening today?
Yeah, and we've talked about this. Specifically, these court orders relate to the return of personal property. You know, initially when we were on this kind of in January, early to mid-February, a lot of it had to do with the timing of the release of individuals from custody, right? Those were the habeas
cases,
filings, right? But there's a caveat to those habeas filings, because what happened as more and more, I mean, we're talking over 1,000 habeas filings in this district over the last 2 to 3 months. As we moved along in that process, judges were noticing that detained immigrants ruled that their arrests were unlawful and being sent home were not going home with the items that were taken from them: driver's license, passports, cell phones, car keys.
So when they're booked into the detention facility at Whipple before they're moved, all that personal property, and you see this too in a jail too, where you put it in a bag and then they give it back to you when you're released.
And perhaps most importantly to a lot of these people is that you know, when they were detained, a lot of them had all their paperwork because they knew what could happen to them, so they had their passports, their visas, their all the paperwork, so all that stuff. So for the most part, when judges started realizing immigrants or, you know, individuals are being released and not with that stuff, they started writing that into the order that, okay, now as we release these individuals, they must be returned with every piece of property that was taken from them upon their detention.
Which you wouldn't think would need to be an order, that it would just be just a matter of procedure, but it wasn't happening, and so they had to order it.
They had to order it, and just remember the volume of arrests. You know, you check in, like, what do you think about going to, like, let's say the theater, and you check your coat, and, you know, this is in mass. This was not, I use the word over and over here, and I apologize to our viewers, but it truly was unprecedented time. So this was unprecedented. There was no system. I mean, the government will tell you there was a system, and, you know, I heard testimony earlier this week, you know, we document, okay, Rob Olson comes in, I'm taking these papers, I'm taking your wallet, okay, $100 CAD, writing it all down.
So that system
making a bag. I mean, it was there, but with such volume, stuff gets lost.
So the system was there, but it was not really set up to handle that volume. And in terms of, you were telling me yesterday about, you know, it's because these people that were being detained were so quickly being moved out to other detention facilities, and maybe several stops of detention facilities, that then the belongings that were taken from them and categorized they didn't know where that wound up.
Right. No, things could get ahead of the petition, you know, the immigrant or the arrested. Things could get behind, you know, the orders, you know, I've heard testimony, you know, people were being kind of ordered off planes, right? Like, oh, we just got the court order, right, get that guy off the plane, and maybe his stuff, like a piece of luggage, goes down to Texas. It may be misplaced. And to be fair, in many of the cases I see, the stuff is eventually found and somewhat, mostly returned. I don't want to, you know, excuse everything that's happening. But what happens is the judge's orders are for immediate release, immediate return of property. So if it takes them 3 days to get something back from El Paso or New Mexico or wherever Louisiana, wherever they may be, and then they tell the formerly, you know, the arrested immigrant and then their attorney that, oh, your license and paperwork are back at Whipple. You know, several days later. One, as the immigration attorneys will tell you, that is a place of trauma for these people who were arrested, had their lives turned upside down.
Want to go back there.
Well, exactly. And to be fair, you know, you could argue that that's not in the spirit of returning, right? Making available is not going to somebody's door after you've ripped apart their lives and detained them for several, you know, whatever it is, and return them. So anyway, that's what it's issue here today. So Judge Tunheim, just like Judge Jeffrey Bryan earlier in the week, has had at least half a dozen cases that he's documented where he feels like his orders to return people and their possessions immediately were not followed. So rather than handling it one at a time, where maybe each little one, okay, we lost your, a driver's license, a cell phone, we're sorry, we'll replace it, whatever we can do. Now all of a sudden he's looking at half a dozen cases and he's putting it on the table today and he's demanding that the U.S. attorney come back. And this, never seen before that we're bringing top government officials into court with the threat of contempt. And Jeffrey Brown and the judge earlier in the week threatened imprisonment. I mean, he said it was unlikely. He didn't want to do it. But just the fact that that is on the table with the appointed U.S. attorney, the top federal prosecutor in the state of Minnesota, it's bonkers when you're sitting in the courtroom to hear that.
Yeah, with the fact that you heard a federal judge actually have to say that out loud.
I know.
To the top U.S. attorney in Minnesota.
Honestly, it's you talk about a moment in the courtroom. I was in the courtroom when that government attorney. I was
following your.
Yeah, well, that day I was just going to say, but I was also in the courtroom, a month earlier when that government attorney kind of cracked under pressure, and she goes, "You know what, Judge? The system sucks. My job sucks. Hold me in contempt. I need 24 hours of rest because of the intense workload." So, there've been. It shows just the amount of pressure on this court system because of what just took place. It'll be historic. We'll be talking about what happened in Minnesota for years to come in those 3 months.
Well, a combination of factors, as you said, just the number of detainees and cases they're dealing with, and then the fewer number of attorneys because so many had exited the office. They were bringing in people from other jurisdictions, or in some cases, I think, wasn't it some military attorneys?
Different departments. The JAG attorney. And we've had a couple of civil contempt findings, and one was a JAG attorney. So a military attorney from the Department of Defense, Department of War, depending on how you phrase it, but had never practiced in federal court, but he accepted an assignment to come to the U.S. Attorney's office to help handle, much like that woman who said the system sucks. She was an ICE attorney who handled just immigration cases, not actually practicing in federal court ever before.
This is all new to them, and they're trying to keep up with a huge workload.
And that's against the backdrop of a huge turnover in the U.S. Attorney's office, who handle the civil litigation, not just the criminal prosecutors, the Joe Thompsons, who we're familiar with, the big high-profile criminal cases, but they also have a civil division, and that also, including the civil division chief, the longtime civil division chief, walked away in the last few weeks. So, an intense pressure on the system. So you have to be in court because you don't know. You literally don't know what it's reality television, and it's the federal.
Because we've never seen anything like this before. And as you mentioned, the judges have a measure of empathy for the enormity of the cases they're dealing with, and attorneys from other jurisdictions that are here dealing with it. But they've also said our patience is running out. Because you're not.
And again and again and again. And then you'll see in these filings, including from the chief judge here, who is a Republican appointee. We have to point that out because some people turn around and say, well, it's liberal, activist judges. But they're Trump appointees who are hammering the government here. But they said they will give some grace, and they have. But what they don't give grace to is the fact that the government sent thousands of federal agents in here to arrest thousands of individuals, and they argue without creating the infrastructure to handle what was sure to come, which is mountains and mountains of litigation. So, Daniel Rosen is on the hot seat. He clearly represents sort of the government writ large. Do I think the attorneys are trying hard to get orders, to the right place and get ICE to comply? Probably, I do. You would, but there is this feeling that I have in watching this that the judges are just so frustrated with the entirety of what is going on, and much of that has to do with these individual habeas filings, because again, more than 1,000 have been filed in these 3 months, and 80% plus the government is siding with the immigrants, and they have the same. Every time the government does this, it's, this person is mandatory. We have mandatory detention priority. The law says that. And this bench has said over and over, no, you don't. So it's created this tension. Like we've told you over and over again, this type of immigrant who has been in this country crime-free for years, you can't detain them. But yet every time, right before the judge of the next case, is that same exact. I mean, every person's going to be different, a different country, But they get so frustrated, and the fact that it's created all this litigation because it's continued. It's almost like you want to hold the whole entire administration. If you're going to hold someone accountable, it's almost like the entirety of it, not just like a poor JAG attorney or an ICE attorney on loan to the U.S. Attorney's Office. So anyway, it's fascinating and it's
interesting, and what's interesting too is that you have these judges, and in this case, federal judges, whose as you said, when they're seeing sort of the same things come up, they're the arbiters of the law. Right. I mean, they are issuing things based on the way the law is written, federal laws are written, and if they see continued things that go against what they've already ruled, this is what is and is not following the law, and it comes up again.
Same person.
That's where their patience wears out. You're like, yeah.
And I'll just say this all could change as these cases get up to the appeals court level. You know what I mean? There's a case in the 8th Circuit, which is what Minnesota reports up to, where the government is arguing that the judges are wrong on the law in those cases, and it happened in the 5th Circuit in the southern part of the United States, where that ruling went against what the judges were doing down there. So all of a sudden, most people think these cases will eventually get up to the Supreme Court and they'll make an ultimate ruling whether our judges were right or wrong. But clearly the Trump administration reads certain immigration-connected laws one way. The judges
see them a different way,
citing decades of precedents that you're reading it, that's not the right way, that's unconstitutional. So eventually, upper courts will probably have rulings.
Okay.
So this is not over. Well, you've not seen the last of me, no matter what happens today, I promise you that.
No, I find this very interesting.
Yeah, it's
very
fascinating.
Interesting. All right, well, we're going to let you go here so you can get on with your day, and we'll see what happens in federal court.
2 o'clock, Judge
2 o'clock in Minneapolis with Judge Tuna. Paul, thanks so much. A complicated issue.